My name is Lucas Wright. I'm a scientist with diplomatic missions stretching from Earth to the far reaches of the galaxy. Most of these missions involve exchanging information with developing civilizations on ordinary planets. But this time, I quickly realized that I was being sent on a very different mission, one that would change my life forever, though I was unaware of it at first. As our ship entered the atmosphere of the planet Zaria, the view was breathtaking. Tall mountains, vast forests, and great flocks of birds adorned the sky. Yet there was a sense of tension in all this nature. This planet lived under the pressure of the Galactic Empire, and that's why I was here. But for the first time, I was going beyond a diplomatic mission. When I first saw Queen Xena, I immediately realized what strong leader she was. We were among the warriors. She led with a tall, graceful figure and fire in her eyes. Xena despised any human who came near her, and I was no exception. I could see her wondering what she could possibly gain from a weaker species like us. "So you're the scientist from Earth," she said in a cold voice. His eyes searched me as if analyzing my situation. "I don't think we need you." These words did not surprise me. As the leader of a people oppressed by the Galactic Empire, I understood how powerful Xena must be. But she didn't know what I could give her. "My honored queen," I said in a calm voice, "I am here only to help. Perhaps we should explore together how I can help you." Zara turned her head and looked at the other warriors. I noticed their smiles, but I was patient, and in time I would show them how I could help them. The people of Zara had weakened under the control of the Empire. Each year more of their resources were plundered by their armies. The Empire not only exploited this planet, but ruled the people of Xena with fear. My mission was to change this order. I began working to bring technological advantages to Zara and her people, but Zara still didn't trust me, wondering what a small scientist could do against a galactic empire. For several weeks, she remained silent, looking at me only as an observer. One day, early in the morning, I had an unexpected conversation with Zara. "You know this situation is untenable," I said, quietly approaching him as he looked out from the walls of her fortress. "Every year the Empire grows stronger and your people weaker." Zara turned to me. Her eyes were both defiant and desperate. "I am protecting these people," she said sternly. "Someone like you cannot understand what they are up against." At that moment, my heart raced. I had witnessed not only Zara's strength, but also the deep fear behind that strength. I knew I could help her. I was not only a scientist, I knew strategy and warfare. I believed that Xena's warrior spirit and my intelligence were the keys to saving this planet. For weeks, I taught Zara and her warriors how to fight the hostile empire, helping them understand its technology and find its weaknesses. It took time to gain Zara's trust, but each victory showed her the value of human intelligence. One night, as I was working on a final plan, she came to me. "You misled me," she said. "At first I underestimated you, but now I see that your intelligence may be the key to winning this war." In that moment, I felt that Xena's view of me had completely changed. As we made plans together, a bond began to form between us. This was not just a battle, but a battle to understand each other. When the great fleet of the Empire approached the planet, our preparations were complete. Zara's warriors were armed with my strategic plans to counter the Galactic Empire's technologies. As we entered the battlefield together, I felt both pride and a great sense of responsibility to be at Xena's side. The battle was harder than we had hoped. The Empire's soldiers were strong, but our resistance was braver than theirs. Zara's leadership and my strategic acumen rallied her people against a galactic empire. When the battle ended, the rising sun in the planetary sky signaled our victory. The Empire had retreated, and the people were free. Zara stood next to me and looked at me. There was no longer contempt in her eyes, but deep respect and something else. In that moment, I realized that Xena and I had formed not only an alliance, but a deep bond. "This planet is ours now," she said softly. "We owe you, Lucas." I nodded. "We did it together, Xena. But this is only the beginning." Xena turned to me, and a small smile appeared on her face. "Maybe this is just the beginning. for us and for other things. After the war was over, Zara and I began a new plan to rebuild her people. The planet was free from the oppression of the Galactic Empire, but it would take time to recover. Zara, as the leader of her people, bravely stepped forward to rebuild them, while I supported their technological advances. The people had grown accustomed to me, no longer seeing me as just a scientist, but as a savior. As the days passed, the bond between Zara and me grew stronger. The ferocity of the battle and the victory we achieved together allowed us to get to know each other better. Zara was not only a strong leader, but also someone who sought to understand the people around her. As we worked on strategies together night after night, we learned more about each other. I was impressed by her loyalty to her people. She was intrigued by my different outlook on life. One night, as I sat on the terrace of the castle after a long day, Xena approached me. She looked at me with her intense gaze and sat quietly beside me. So much was said in that silence. The war was over, but we had so much to talk about for the future. We know what we have to do for the future of this planet, Zara said, her eyes fixed on the stars on the horizon. But what about your future? The question surprised me. I had thought that my mission was to save the planet, but Zara's question made me feel that there was something more. Maybe I should have asked myself this question earlier. This experience with Zara's people, away from my world, had changed me. I was no longer just a diplomat or a scientist. I had become a part of Xena and her people. I have a future that is intertwined with the future of this planet, I said, looking into her eyes. I want to work with you. The hard expression on Zara's face slowly softened. At that moment, I realized that our bond was not just about battle and victory. We understood each other. Our respect for each other had grown into a deep trust, and maybe more. Zara slowly reached out her hand to mine and gently took it. This simple touch was a sign of the emotional bond that was growing between us. Don't get me wrong, Lucas, he said with a slight smile. The war is over, but this planet still needs your intelligence. Maybe I need you too. My heart started a race. That a strong leader like Zara would trust someone so openly only increased my admiration for her. We had grown closer, and now there was much more between us than just words. As the months passed, our relationship with Zara became much more than a strategic partnership. As I worked for the good of her people, Zara's trust and emotional attachment to me grew. In the process, I realized that my feelings for her were deepening, and that this planet was no longer just a diplomatic mission, but a home. Every day I spent with Zara, we grew closer. One morning, Zara and I toured one of her community's newly built educational centers. The children looked up at us, smiling, excitedly examining the technological devices in their hands. I was proud to have contributed to their development. After Zara walked over to the children and spoke to them briefly, she turned to me. As you can see, your teaching is shaping the future of my people, she said proudly. But we still have much to learn. We have also learned much from each other, I said. Perhaps this is just the beginning. Zara approached me and took a deep breath. Lucas, you didn't just save our planet, you showed me what it means. Everything we've accomplished together is a reflection of the bond between us. And that bond is not limited to one mission. In that moment, everything became clear between us. Zara and I not only had an alliance, but a much stronger emotional bond. It went beyond winning a galactic war. We had protected this planet together, and now we would build the future together. Every day after the war, Zara and I grew closer. When the rebuilding of the planet was complete, Xena and I had a new beginning. We had stood together against the threats of the Empire. We had triumphed, but our greatest triumph was the trust and love we had for each other. As queen of this planet, I am grateful to you, Xena said one night under the stars as I held her hand lightly in mine. But as queen of my heart, I want you by my side. Those were the most powerful words I have ever heard in my life. I was no longer just a diplomat or a scientist. Together with Zara, in this distant corner of the galaxy, we had made the beginning of a new life. The days at Xena's side had strengthened our commitment to each other. The people were regaining their strength after the Empire's retreat. Technology was advancing rapidly, and the agricultural fields were becoming productive again. I was proud to be part of this new order that Zara and I were building together. I no longer felt like a savior or a scientist, but a member of this people. One evening, I sat alone with Zara on the terrace of the castle, our eyes fixed on the setting sun on the horizon. The silence said everything between us. The exhaustion of battle on one side and the peace of victory on the other. "Lucas," Zara said, slowly turning to me, "you have changed our lives since the first day you set foot on this planet. Now, as my people make a new beginning, I want to make a new beginning with you." These words sent a wave of excitement through my heart. Every day I discovered more and more the emotional depth behind Zara's strong stance. She was not only a leader, but someone who complimented me. "The future of this planet is in our hands," I said softly, "but it is also our future." Zara took my hands. In that moment, I felt not just the hands of a leader or a warrior, but the hands of someone I loved. The silence between us was a sign of a bond too strong for words. "I want to spend more time with you, Lucas," Zara said. "Not just as an alliance, but as a couple. I want to build a life together." Those words showed how deep our relationship had become. Zara and I were no longer just a strategic partnership, but an emotional bond. Looking at her, I could see that the future was bright, not only for this planet, but for us. Months passed. The rebuilding of the planet was complete. The people had regained their strength. The time Zara and I spent together deepened our love for each other every day. I was no longer just a scientist or a war advisor. I was at Zara's side, building the future with her. One day, Zara and I climbed to the top of the highest mountain on the planet. From there, we could see the rebuilt villages, fields, and cities of her people. Zara took great pride in being with her people and working with them. This was her greatest accomplishment as a leader. But to me, she was also the woman I loved. "Lucas," Zara said, turning to me, "I plan to start family with you in this new chapter of our lives. Our planet is saved. Our people are safe. Now it's time to build our future." At that moment, my heart started to race. To build a life with Zara. This thought was like a reward for everything we had been through. The idea of starting a family with her was the greatest happiness I could imagine. "I want to start a family with you too, Zena," I said, looking into her eyes. "This planet will be our home, and we will build our future here." The smile that appeared on Zara's face showed once again how strong our bond was. At that moment, we laid the foundation not only for a future, but also for an everlasting love. The life that Zara and I have built together has been so much more than we could have ever expected. Her people have come to love her even more as their leader, and have accepted me as part of their people. This new world that Zara and I built together became a place where not only the planet realized our dreams, but our own as well. In time, Zara's name and mine became memorable heroes in the history of the planet, not only for our victory over a galactic empire, but also for our love for each other. "This is just the beginning," Zara once said. And indeed it was. We couldn't wait to embark on greater adventures together, to make new discoveries across the galaxy. But our greatest discovery was the power of our love for each other. The days that Zara and I spent rebuilding the planet slowly began to reverberate throughout the galaxy. As the Empire retreated, other planets began to stir, and people began to rise up and reclaim their freedom. In the process, Zara became a symbol of freedom, not only on her planet, but on many of the surrounding planets. I stood by her side as an advisor, an ally, and most importantly, a wife. "This victory can only be the beginning," she said one day, looking into the distance as she and Zara discussed the future. "The Empire is exploiting not only this planet, but many other worlds. We have one here, but other planets need our help." This thought of Zara's excited me and made me think. Zara's leadership should not be limited to this planet. We could create a wave of change throughout the rest of the galaxy. But I also knew what a huge responsibility this was. "You want to help other planets," I said. "That is a huge task. But with you, we can do it." Zara turned to me, and I saw the determination in her eyes. Yes, Lucas. We have to do this. We have won, but others still live in this darkness. When the Empire comes against them again, they will need an ally like us. After a while, under Zara's leadership, we began to form an alliance. We contacted planets that were willing to stand up to the Empire and began to offer them strategic support. My scientific knowledge contributed greatly to the development of this alliance. Zara's leadership brought hope to every planet. This journey with Zara strengthened our bond even more. We were together not only as a couple, but as leaders of a galactic resistance, strategizing together at night and working for the freedom of the people during the day. Despite this intense pace, our love for each other grew deeper every day. One night, as I retired to my room after a long meeting, Zara knocked on the door. "I know you're tired," she said with a smile, "but a greater freedom awaits us at the end of this journey." "That's why we're doing this," I told him. "Under your leadership, we're not only liberating a people, but the galaxy." Zara sat down beside me and rested her head on my shoulder. "Without you, Lucas, none of this would have been possible. Not just your intelligence, but the confidence you gave me." In that moment, his words reminded me once again how precious everything is. Together, Zara and I were lighting the light of freedom not just for one people, but for people and beings across the galaxy. And it was all possible because of the deep bond between us. As the alliance grew, the Empire began to take notice. As news of the resistance spread from every corner of the galaxy, the Empire knew that Zara was at the forefront of this movement. We were no longer fighting to save just our planet, but an entire galaxy. One day, as we prepared for one of the most important meetings of our alliance, Xena and I locked eyes. "Is there an end to this?" she asked me. "Will we always have to fight?" The question made me think. Zara was right. Every new victory in the galaxy opens the door to another struggle. But the bond between us and our commitment to our people kept us going against all odds. "One day when it's all over," I told Xena, "we'll only have time to build a life with you. But until that day comes, we will fight together." Zara nodded slightly. "When that day comes, there will be peace in the galaxy, and we will build that peace with our own hands." Years of battles, victories, and alliances passed. Zara and I became known as some of the most powerful leaders in the galaxy. But no matter what, when we turned to each other each night, we thought only of each other, not of the galaxy, for our greatest victory on this long journey was the life we had built together. One morning, as Zara and I sat under the stars, she turned to me and smiled and said, "Now it's our turn, Lucas. It's time for us to make a life for ourselves." Those words ushered in the moment we'd been waiting for years. After bringing peace to the galaxy, it was time to find our own.